everybody. So today we are going to be talking about a major energetic shift, planetary energetic shift that will be taking place this March. I guess it depends on when you're watching this, but it does take place on March 7th of 2023. I am talking about Saturn moving into Pisces. Again, this will take place on March 7th of 2023. And it will be in Pisces. Saturn will be in Pisces through May 24th of 2025. I'm looking at my notes, so make sure not to fuck this up. And then after that, it will move into Aries, but it will retrograde back into Pisces on August 31st of 2025. So it'll be in Pisces again from August 31st of 2025 through February 13th of 2026. So about 2.5 years in total, Saturn will be in Pisces. And this is, that's a decent amount of time. This should be talked about. Same thing like with Pluto moving into Aquarius in later March 2023. There's just some big energetic shifts going on. They deserve to be talked about. They deserve to have their own videos. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. But before I start talking about this, I want to throw this out there. I am going to be doing fundamentals of chart weaving again. That was my astrology course that I ran last year for the first time in 2022. I'm running it again in 2023. I am thinking about starting this. Well, I'm pretty fucking sure this is when it'll start. It'll either start on April 15th of 2023 or April 22nd of 2023. These are both Saturdays. I'm not sure which one of those days the course will start on, but it'll be one of those. I'm not sure the time yet. See, last year there were people, most students were in the US, but we did have a couple overseas in Europe. So I'm trying to hit it to where the time is not totally crazy for anybody that might be overseas or somewhere else. I am tentatively right now thinking maybe 2-3 p.m. Central Time. I'm in Austin, Texas, so Central Time is what I'm operating on. If you are interested in being a part of this year, shoot me an email. My email is ellie@saturnseason.com. You can also shoot it to saturnseason@gmail.com. Those are both my emails. If you are interested in being a part of the course this year, let me know what time zone you're in, so I can try to pick a time that is conducive for everybody that might be interested in this. I'm not totally sure how much it will cost. Last year it was $500. This year it's going to be a little bit longer, so it'll probably be a little bit more. I'm thinking perhaps $600. Though last year I also did payment plans and all of these kinds. Oh, I work with people. I'm happy to work with people because I really want people to learn. I want people to learn that want to learn. Also, I really liked the number that I had last year. We had 8 people. I really liked that. I'm thinking this year I might extend it out to 10, but that's a big maybe. I might cap it at 8 again. So if anybody is interested in being a part of this, doing this, shoot me an email. Let me know that you're interested, so that way I can get more information to you when I finally have it up for sale. Or if you have any questions about the course, what it'll be ahead of me actually posting it and offering it, I can certainly, email you back and let you know more. Anyway, okay, back to Saturn in Pisces. Okay, so first we should talk a little bit about Saturn, what Saturn represents. Planets are, when you think about planets are what? Energy is wanting to be expressed, is needing to be expressed, whatever. It is the what. We're not going to talk about houses here, but the house would be where or what area of life that something is expressed through. And then the sign is how energy is expressed. So Saturn is a what and Pisces is a how. So Saturn, and also keep in mind, all planets, all signs, there is a light and a shadow to all of these different energies, right? So do keep that in mind. Okay, so Saturn, my business is Saturn Season Astrology. The YouTube channel is Let's Fuck with Astrology, or Let's F with Astrology, since YouTube didn't like fuck being in the name. But Saturn Season Astrology is my personal business, where I do readings and stuff. And so I do tend to take a little bit more of a positive take on Saturn. I usually do, because even when he's a pain in the ass, even when he's coming in like big dick daddy, wanting to teach you a lesson, I generally find that even that is positive. It doesn't feel positive at the time always, but it is positive. And that, so I do, it's necessary. He is necessary. And I do say he, to me, he is masculine. So I do think of him as he. Yeah. So even the challenging things with him, I do feel like have their light as well. You know, some of the challenging things with Saturn can be limitations, restrictiveness, being restricted, feeling restricted. Boundaries. Saturn deals in boundaries. Boundaries are not a bad thing, and I don't really think that they are a shadow, but they can be. Especially if we happen to be putting them up unnecessarily, or you know what I mean? Or even a shadow of Saturn could be not having any boundaries. You know, that's very possible here too, depending on what sign it's going to be in. And let's just say Pisces might be one of those. But we'll get to that in just a second. So these are kind of the more shadow sides of Saturn energy. Saturn, though, I think ultimately really wants to express mastery. It wants to express authority. And I mean, like, you know, the kind of authority that we have ourselves. Sometimes it can be like it can also deal with other people's authority too. But I really feel like it really is about our own personal authority that we have. Maturity. Saturn matures. Absolutely matures. It wants to express maturity. It wants to express responsibility. Yeah, these are all excellence. Excellence is another one. Saturn wants to express excellence. It's also very crystallized in solid energy. This energy is very, it wants to crystallize, it crystallize things. It's also very resilient and persevering. Doesn't give up. No half measures. Only full measures. Yeah, these are kind of the ways that I think of Saturn, Saturn energy. Another thing is testing. Like, Saturn is also, it does test. Saturn does test. And it can test us in transit, and it can test us in our natal charts. These tests, though, as difficult as they might feel when they're happening, again, I don't think that they're really a shadow. I think that oftentimes, same thing with like limitations and restrictiveness. I find, you know, if you feel really limited, if you feel really restricted, and you think it's Saturn doing it, and it very well could be, you know, like if you've got a hard ass Saturn transit, you know, going on, it very well could be, you know, Saturn doing it. But if you think that it is, the most important thing is to ask yourself, is this even something I should be doing in the first place? Seriously. Because oftentimes I find that when Saturn limits and restricts, it's because it's not really something that's in our best interest to do in the first place. We may want to do it. We may want to do whatever, but it's not really for our best that we do it. It doesn't grow us. It doesn't mature us. It doesn't whatever. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't help our mastery. But we want to do it because we want to do it, and we can't do it for whatever reason. It feels limiting or restrictive. And again, that's not universal, but I do find that generally to be the case. So it is a way to think about Saturn when, you know, if you feel really limited, really restricted for some reason, really ask yourself, whether this is from the natal chart or from the from transits or whatever, really ask yourself, is it something you should be doing in the first place? Yeah. So these are all things that Saturn wants to express, needs to express, whatever. And then we have Pisces. And you know, Pisces energy has no form. It's very, very fluid. It's very, very fluid energy. Like I don't think of Pisces as being, I mean, you could put, Pisces is a water sign. You could put water in a container. But to me, Pisces energy is so fluid, like it doesn't even fit in the container. It either flows over or there's cracks in the container and it flows through. Like you can't contain, it's shapeless. And trying to give it shape is kind of futile. and so to have Saturn moving into a sign, right? Saturn deals with being solid and crystallized. And putting Saturn in in a sign that doesn't have a shape, that's very, very fluid, very, very formless, this doesn't feel completely comfortable for Saturn to me. It doesn't seem totally comfortable. Though I think that there probably is something to collectively and individually, right, to think about with this. Like, perhaps under these 2.5 years that Saturn is in Pisces, if there are things that we collectively are trying to give shape to or crystallize, or even individually things that you're trying to crystallize and give shape to, and it just isn't fucking working, you're just not able to fucking do it, perhaps we should be asking ourselves, why does this need shape in the first place? You know what I mean? It's like, why does this particular, whatever it is, and it could be anything, why does this need shape in the first place? Why am I trying to give this shape? And I think that there, and it depends on what Saturn is doing, what transit Saturn will be doing to your natal chart, because this will impact people differently. But I could see collectively this idea coming up, and even individually, just depending on what's going on in your chart with transit Saturn. But it does feel like things that have shape now, and even, yeah, they might not keep the same kind of shape throughout this transit or by the time this transit's over. Also, Pisces energy is very, very spiritual. Very, very spiritual, very, very intuitive, psychic sponginess, all of these kinds of things. So it does feel like, with Saturn dealing with mastery, with authority, and even responsibility, there could be like a mastery that collectively people find with their spirituality, with their, this does seem possible, with their intuition, with their intuitiveness, with their psychic sponginess, maybe feeling like they have mastery over these things, feeling like they have authority over these things, perhaps even feeling like they have more of a responsibility to these things, a responsibility to tap into intuition, a responsibility to, a responsibility to be more spiritual. These things also seem possible, and depending on what Saturn is doing, transit Saturn is doing to your natal chart, will kind of give you an idea of if this could come into play for you. But I think it definitely could come into play for some people, for sure. Saturn is also boundaries, right? Saturn does deal with boundaries. And Pisces energy, like I just said, is very fluid. Pisces energy is also one that doesn't really have boundaries. It's very nebulous energy. It doesn't do the boundary thing. So it does seem like under Saturn, while Saturn is in Pisces, there could be boundaries that are completely dissolved. Pisces energy also dissolves. So boundaries could be completely dissolved. Boundaries could be unclear, because Pisces energy can also be rather unclear at times, because it is so nebulous. It can be rather unclear. It's also very unconscious, which can make it more unclear. But it could be like, I don't know, we could, a positive way or light way that this could go is perhaps, if you're somebody who has a lot of unconscious boundaries up, like in your unconscious, this could be a period for dissolving those, which could be a really great thing for some people. At the same time, though, you could also, I could just see there being also, like, on a shadow end or a challenging end, there being issues with boundaries in general. And perhaps even a dissolving of boundaries that shouldn't be dissolved. I could see it going both ways. And depending on what your chart looks like and what transit Saturn is doing to your chart will kind of give you an idea as to how this might go for you. If you do find a bunch of boundaries being dissolved, and it's more in a shadowy way, this could be happening so that you kind of learn how to fortify them. Sometimes I find that happens. Like, sometimes difficult things have to happen and you have to learn through those difficult things. And I think Saturn is one of those kinds of teachers. So it's like, especially if you're somebody who, say, doesn't really have boundaries as it is, and like, you're either not good at installing your own boundaries, you don't respect other people's boundaries. Nobody likes to admit that, but it happens. The boundary issue with Saturn and Pisces could creep up even more to kind of show you that these boundaries need to exist. Kind of show you what you might be doing wrong, if you will. Yeah. So, but the unconscious boundaries coming down, I think that thing could be good for some people. I think it could be. That particular thing could be really nice. That does feel a little bit lighter, because I think a lot of people have unconscious boundaries in place, and while those are certainly protective, right? Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're not totally necessary in the way that we install them. And Pisces energy could break down some of those for people. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to touch on here. I think that's probably pretty good for now. If I think of anything else later, I'll do another thing on this. But yeah, this got longer than I meant for it to. But yeah, if you have any thoughts on Saturn and Pisces, what you think that this could indicate for yourself, for the collective, things that you think might come up, shoot them down in the comments below. I'd be curious to hear. I will say one more thing. Saturn is like, I mentioned Saturn being like perseverance and like resilience. Now, Saturn and Pisces can deal with faith. I think of Pisces as being like faith. Jupiter Sagittarius is belief, and then Pisces Neptune is more faith. So there could be like more of a resilience through faith, and I don't mean religious faith here. I mean just faith in general. There could be more resilience through faith, which I actually think could be kind of cool, especially for the collective, right? I think that could be a really cool thing. I also think, though, resilience could kind of be dissolved as well. So do watch that. If you're somebody who has issues with like resilience or perseverance as it is, Saturn and Pisces could kind of dissolve that even further. It could. It does seem possible. That's the only other, yeah, I think that's good. I think I'm done for now. But if you want to find me for a reading or whatever, I will put where you can find me in the description box below. Yeah, and I will see y'all later.